Today I'm painting pieces of twisted metal. Hi guys, Jonathan from Two Raven Studios. Welcome. I do painting videos, model reviews, and general gaming content. If that's something that's interests you, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything. Today what I'm going to be doing is painting the metal construct minis that come with Magneto from Crisis Protocol. They're pretty cool little pieces of twisted metal. If you're paying attention, they're actually some of the terrain from the New York terrain set that are twisted up, which I think is kind of a neat touch. So this is going to be a quick one today. Let's hop right into it and get painting. We're going to be using my new favorite paints, Monument Hobby Pro Acryl. We're starting with dark neutral gray and dark gray blue mixed together, and we're just base coating everything that's going to be metal. So just take your time and give everything a solid coat. We're going to go for a comic book, more non-metallic metal than using actual metallics here. Next up, we're going to use bright neutral gray mixed with gray blue and add some highlights. So we're going to go from a high angle and just spray certain areas just to give it some shine in certain part and brighten certain areas up. And spin the model around and hit it from every angle you need. And then we're just going to further that by mixing gray blue with white and doing the same thing. You can kind of see I'm holding the airbrush close to the model here, so I have the spray over a tight area and just highlight very specific parts. We're trying to keep this a controlled focus final highlight with the airbrush. And next up, we're going to just paint the base a solid color. I'm using bright warm gray, again, Monument Hobby Pro Acryl. And I'm trying not to spray it too much on what I've already painted, but if I get a little bit overspray, that's fine. We're just painting anything that should be the ground or concrete here. And then we're just going to darken those areas down with dark warm gray, just spraying it into some of the recesses. Looking for the cracks, kind of the parts where the base meets the model and that sort of thing. And then I'm going to quickly go in with a brush with yellow ochre and paint in the stoplight and the outside of the door. So you can pick any color for the car door. I'm kind of going for a taxi cab look, going for this yellow color. Just quickly base coat all those areas. And then last steps with the airbrush, I'm using Skeleton Horde contrast paint through the airbrush just to shade everything down a little bit. And focus on the recesses. We're going on both the base itself and all the metal bits and darkening everything down. Contrast paint through the airbrush is great for this type of stuff. And then we're going to use Grunt Deferred and further down a little bit. Add a little bit of a rust look to the metal. Just darken some of the shadows down on the base. And then we're also going to use this to darken the stuff we painted yellow and add some nice shadows into that. Just some quick blasts, you'll get some very nice shadows pretty quickly. You see, just quick short blast and nice shading on the door, that easy. And then quickly with a couple different colors of contrast paints, I'm just going to paint in the lenses on the lights. You can see the colors I'm using here. Just quickly with the brush, paint those in. And now we're moving over to my favorite oil paints. So I have sap green, burnt sienna, and then a mix of burnt sienna and ivory black, and I'm just kind of smearing them all around in different spots. The mix of the burnt sienna and ivory black is mainly for the metal parts. The burnt sienna itself is going to be mainly on the yellow parts, and just a mix of everything else kind of here and there. Camera's a little bit out of focus, but you get the idea. I'm just moving quickly. This is thinned down with mineral spirits, and I'm just smearing it all over the base. It's okay. We're going to clean this up in the next step. It looks a little bit overdone, but that's fine right now. So just try to get all the surfaces covered. Burnt sienna can simulate rust. Sap green can simulate some kind of muck and dirt. And just take your time and give everything a nice shade. Set that aside to dry for a little bit, and then you can come back with a makeup sponge and wipe most of it off. So by doing this, we are leaving some in the recesses and kind of creating some smears and nice shading. So the reason it looks so heavy in the last step is because you can see how we're cleaning it off here. You just want to let it set for a little, maybe about 10 minutes before you do this. Now we're going to go in with bright warm gray and a dry brush and just dry brush all the base. So just very quickly picking up the sharp edges with the dry brush. I want to be careful not to get this too much on anything else. We want it just on the concrete of the base. Then with the same color, I'm going to go in with a regular brush and do some broken edge highlights that I always do on everything, just to further along the look that we created with the dry brush and help highlight certain areas. You can also add scratches here and there if you want to with this color. Then we're going to repeat that process on anything that's yellow. We're going to use the yellow ochre we use as a base coat and just do broken edge highlights again around the edges of everything. Again, on the door of the car on the outside, you can add some scratches and that sort of thing just to help break up that big surface. But mainly, again, we're just doing the sharp edges, picking it out with not solid lines, but broken dotted lines along the edge. Then we're going to repeat that with golden yellow, which is a brighter yellow color, and just pick out smaller areas doing the same thing. So you can kind of see I'm not doing straight lines, I'm doing dots here and there, kind of breaking it up. Makes it look nice and worn and weathered. And then with black, I'm just going to pick out certain parts here and there, like the wires on this sign, and just a couple things here and there I'm going to paint black. While I have the black on, I'm also going to paint the rim of the base. This step is optional, it's just to add a little bit of variation to the color on the model. And then with a mix of dark gray blue and bright neutral gray, we're going to add some highlights here and there. Kind of the same thing we did in all the other areas with these broken dotted edge highlights. Just picking out different parts of the metal to make them kind of look worn and just help highlight the definition in certain parts. You probably noticed I used mostly similar colors. There's very few paints I used over this whole thing. That just helps keep everything nice and tied together. Now with bright neutral gray, we're just going to go back over what we just did and further refine those highlights by doing it over a smaller area. So I'm doing this over both the metal parts and the parts I painted black, giving them little highlights. Just moving around the miniature and creating some nice detail. Then we're done. So here's the finished product. Maybe took me about 30-40 minutes to complete this, so it was pretty quick work, and the results look really nice. So if you used your techniques properly, you don't have to be super clean, and you can work very quickly and get these miniatures on the tabletop to a nice high standard pretty quickly. I'm pretty happy with how these came out. I really like how the yellow contrasts with the metal and the look of the rust and everything. It just looks really cool. I'm really happy with how these turned out. Hope you guys found that useful. If you did, I'd appreciate a like. Make sure you're subscribed to not miss out on any future content because, as you probably can guess, later this week, we're going to be painting Magneto himself. So look forward to that. But until then, keep on gaming and paint your minis.